Hey guys, welcome to The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. It is Alex Williamson here, and we have drained out a whole bunch of water out of my, well, I don't know what to call this tank anymore. It's a frickin' mess, that's what it is. It's the frickin' mess tank. There are a lot of blue shrimp, as you can see, and boy do they love coming up out of the water, right at the water level. So I recommend, if you guys didn't catch that pro tip, all shrimp species really like hanging out right at the water level. Lots of goodies for them to eat there, lots of algae. But in any case, so what I'm going to be doing here is cleaning up. We got moss growing into red root floater. We've got rotala that is just ridiculously long at this point. I mean, look at this just, I mean, we've got almost 2 feet tall rotala in some of these areas. And since the CO2 ran out a while back, I haven't really been keeping up with it. I haven't been keeping up with since we're going out of town, I haven't been keeping up with pruning and trimming, and I kind of just wanted to see what would happen if I let it kind of run amok on its own. A lot of really pretty plants in here that need more light. They're not getting the love they need. This is Hudori crypt, and it's got a beautiful red micro veins in it and a metallic underside with that super green top and the striping. There's crypt nuri, there's white Lagonandra mibolde white, silver, and then there's also mini dwarf lilies, Nymphea micrantha in here, tiger lily. There's all sorts of plants in here, including some new ones also in here. I'll have to get the name of it. I just picked this one up from a friend. It is a South American plant that grows outside of, south of the tropics, actually. So it's in subtropics on the south end of things, which is a little unusual. And we've got, here's buried females. We've got lots of shrimp and stuff in here. And so I had just been hesitant to mess with anything since even the Tinwini, these gold ring danios, you can see that female, she's full of eggs ready to spawn. So are the chili rasboras, or actually they're phoenix rasboras. They're doing great. The guppies are doing great, or endlers, whatever they are. They were sold to me as endlers, but they're probably half guppy, half endler, honestly. And so, really, there's been no aquascape going on in here. And there are some great plants. I mean, some of the moss has really developed some cool structure just naturally. The shrimp love that. And nearite snails do what they do, and they have just taken over the wood. So I'd like to get some new spider wood, play with some of the rock structure here. You can see where the rocks are/were. But then also, if you recall, I have the hypancistris in here, which are as well as some CPDs, some celestial pearl danios. But I have the hypancistris, which are, of course, nowhere to be found right now. They're hiding somewhere, but they're gonna want these rocks more, and they deserve like a nice little cave or hiding spot. And those are the L138 and what are they, L046, I guess, L333, that's what it is. So the leopard frog pleco, and then the false zebra pleco, both in here. Babies, teeny babies. There's 3 of them total. So there's a lot of reasons why I need to clean this up, make it look nicer, and just take an inventory of which plants are doing well. I've got other plants like Rotala wallachia. It's nowhere near its glory without the CO2 and the good light. So I'm going away on a trip. This is Limnophilia bellum. I love this stuff. I want to actually do a whole big tank of it instead of like a val. It just takes some time it grows fairly quick, but then you need to cut it, replant, because it only grows straight. It doesn't branch out. So that takes some time, but I think I'd like to do a forest of that, and then also the Kabamba furcata, which in this tank is Not looking so hip either. It's supposed to be a brilliant rainbow of color, which it is in the tank downstairs, but it's not looking that way right now. It's looking dogged, and things have gotten pushed down as I pull different things out. Some of the panda loaches are still in there. So this is actually a fairly full fish load in this tank, probably about where it should be. And then when I put shrimp food out, there are over 100 shrimp when I count. I can't count because they start moving, but over 100 shrimp in here total, and more on the way. So I'm going to need to split up their colonies. There's 3 different species that are breeding well in here. We've got the Neocaridina blues, the Malawas, and the gold nebulas all breeding well. The algae, the Japanese short-nosed algae-eating shrimp, those are doing fine. They're in here, but they don't seem to be breeding, even though 2 were buried. I think they might need a saltwater type thing like the Amanos. I've just read that nobody knows for sure what they need in captivity. Nobody's breeding them in captivity. They're relatively new. Also, I'm getting some of this algae, and with all these shrimp, they're actually doing a pretty good job eating it, but you know, without that CO2 running, nothing's competing against that. So I want to clean up a little bit of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these floating plants, set them aside. Already I've picked up the dust because the stratification of the soil here. That dust, it just turns into muck, and it leaves the water cloudy and not attractive. And so the shrimp castings and stuff pile up, break down, and make that. And yes, it's full of good bacteria and nutrients even, but the EcoComplete or Amazonia or whatever I end up topping off things with, what I've done is I've sucked up a lot of that, put it into this bucket. This bucket's been waiting overnight, separated, and now what I can do is I can put out a little floating piece of food, scoop up any baby shrimp that I got in the siphoning process, and put them back into their home. And then what I'll do is I'll take all the floating stuff out, set it onto the cutting board, and then I'm going to trim all of the tall plants, replant some of the sprouts, maybe pull up some of this Rotala purple Vietnam that's just gone nuts, this stuff here. And it's really a wall in the back, but I don't want to cut everything too much too soon, too quick, because it can shock the system if it's near, if it's got nitrates in it. Now, I tested it, and the nitrates are relatively low, so that shouldn't be too big of a problem. They're like just barely visible, probably 10 or so parts per million. So they can go up even double, and it would still be just fine. The system should flex. Also, I need to redo the fine filters and get those good to go before my trip. But that's kind of what I'm doing. I'll have to do that in all my tanks. So this was the long, wordy rundown of how I'm going to approach a really overgrown tank how to deal with an unruly tank if you ever come across someone else's and they say you can have all the plants in the tank and everything, but you got to take care of it. This is kind of the standard or common way to do it, short of just resetting it. Also, there's just odd things like hornwort that have started to grow in here, and I'm sure I'll find lots of broken pieces and just leaves and things that need to be picked up because they're actually causing ammonia. So getting some of those out, like this deadhead leaf and all that kind of stuff, or this red root floater that's dissolving and it's lived its life, getting that out of there will actually help the ammonia levels that are in there currently, even though it's being broken down, but that will help those ammonia levels in a degree, even though I'm hurting them by taking out some of the plant, the biological living filtration methods in here. But hopefully it all kind of equals out as long as I don't go too crazy on it. And we're not looking for carpeting or anything like that. We're just really trying to get some stem plants that have gotten leggy and nuts in here. I mean, just look at these. They've gone nuts. So we're just looking to trim back some of this super red Ludwigia repens, things like that. Get rid of some of this algae while we're at it. That's at the very top of things, and that is what I will be doing. It will probably take me several hours, but you'll see it in a course of probably 4 minutes. So that's what's going on. I will see you on the other side. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you stuck with me this far, you're clearly a Fishfam nerd. Have a great day and enjoy the show. Alright guys, so this is a bit gross, but this is all the water out of my tank here when I siphoned out all of this bottom area debris. So you know how tanks stratify and you get, here we go, so you get the different layers. Well, one of the layers usually ends up being mulm and dusty debris, not held together well. Here you can see some that's left here. So that dusty debris has fallen apart, and in that layer, that's where you get all your critters like your planaria and your hydra. And here we go. These are all planaria. If you look closely, those are dozens and dozens of planaria, and there's more right here. And so I've put food in here to try to get any of the shrimp that I could have sucked up, the baby shrimp, and so far no baby shrimp, which is actually pretty interesting. But definitely the planaria are out in full effect. But if nothing else, it shows you that gravel vacuum can have an impact on that. Even though, I mean, look at them all. There's probably, I don't know, 40 to 50 right here. And probably another 40 to 50 over here. If not, maybe even more. And this has been settled overnight. It's been 24 hours. But there are 1 or 2 planaria that I see hanging out in here now. Definitely way less, considering I just fed the tank. I mean, I can see there's a big, huge one on the glass right there. But other than that, usually I would see a lot, and now I'm seeing, you know, just a handful. Enough that the fish definitely will just take care of these guys like a Hoover vacuum in just no time flat. So no worries or fear there. But yeah, another reason why gravel vacuuming can be helpful, even though it's not necessary. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, guys. So we have cleaned up the aquarium quite a bit here. So it's never a quick process necessarily, but it is a process nonetheless. So you can see here we have a lot more fish visible than before. Before you probably only saw the guppies. Now you can see the tin winnies. You can see the beautiful Phoenix rasboras, and also a whole load of shrimp are just hanging out right in the open. The maluas, the gold nebulas, all that. Um, it looks as though I'm finding some more of endlers that are older than I even knew were in here, that have some markings that are more wild markings. Also, it looks like three of the tin winnie, the gold ring danios, are pregnant. They're carrying eggs, or they're egg bearing. There we go. See, here's a wild form Endler male that's been hiding in here, and I need to get to him ASAP. So I need to catch him. But any case, so I just put the red root floaters back in. Check out the difference on top of the tank. You saw how the entire tank was just matted down with rotala, like this Rotala wallachia, Rotala rotundifolia. This is a lot of pink Rotala, Atra, Vietnam, wallachia in there. We still have 3 different types of 2 miniature dwarf lilies. We've got also, I better upright this now before I forget about it. But here we go. We don't want to bury all these things, but you know, we've got everything from cholla wood. I saw all the hypancistris that I had been curious where they were hiding. Found them. And a lot of the blue shrimp in here that I was curious where the heck they were. I really want this Limnophilia bellum to stand out more. Limnophilia aromatica hippodroids. Also, I like its beautiful color. I'd like that to stand out. And the Cabamba furcata, as you probably saw, I cut that in half, replanted, cut a lot of things in half and replanted. And then what I did with, so here we're going to, as I added water, we're going to find more of these floaters. But here, like this purple Vietnam Rotala, it's fine. You know, it's a beautiful plant. It'll be replanted. I'll still be going through and getting some of the weedy stuff out. But getting a lot of the dead red root floaters and water lettuce and all that stuff, it tends to kind of die and have a lot of debris in it. So you saw me straining that out with the net. But we also have some brand new little teeny endlers that are the result of these endler / guppy hybrid, the koi version. So they're now free to grow. Also, the mini Nymphea micrantha doing great. You can see that it's got quite a few pads that are coming up to the top. So those stay long. That's fine. These guys can stay long and lanky and go wherever they want now. And really, the tank, I took out a couple of the stones in there, and I'll be replanting. But you can see how lanky and wispy. I mean, some of these are the mini lilies. I actually have 3 different species. This is a different species that's purple and green, and then I've got the Nymphea micrantha that's got the red, and then the 3-color pattern, and then the tiger lily, the red tiger lily. But then we've got Rotala wallachia. I know it's all still a mess right now, but it's coming into shape. We've got the Hydrocotyl verticillata. We've got lots of different rare plants in here that now can see the light of day. The red, we've got some Florida Ramosior, or Rosevig, back in there. So some of this stuff that's just been overshadowed. Alternanthera renicii, different mosses, a Christmas moss, a flame moss, Java moss, never get rid of that. And then if we come around this side, I took out some of the stone back here. Got some koke stone here, but then also this is just local Oso jade and granite. The jade, you can see that color that I wanted in there. Locally, I actually got this. I chipped it myself off of the mountainside. And so I want to put some of this jade back in. I think it'll go good with the blue shrimp and stuff. And I think maybe it's time to retire the pink out of this tank and maybe have kind of a jade forest tank, get some carpeting. So what the next step will be to remove some of the crypts and other plants in here when I get that larger tank. In the meantime, I will keep cutting the Limnophilia bellum, the Cabamba furcata, all these plants that I really love. Check out the short-nosed algae shrimp. They've gotten to their full size now. Kind of fun. And the CPDs, I see them, the erythromicrons. So there's a lot of fish in here that you may not have noticed in the pink tank, as it was called. And there's a lot of biomass gone now in here. The soil is somewhat depleted. It's a 1.5 years old. So hopefully now I'll be adding a cup of EcoComplete or Fluval Stratum or Amazonia, one of those. I don't know which one yet. I'll probably do Amazonia Light or something to that effect to go with the jade kind of colors. And then because of that, well, I won't need to take out a ton of this stuff. I already took out a whole 5-gallon bucket of dusty filtered sediment and got the shrimp out of there as well. So then we've got the a variety of just some rare plants down in here. I'll have to get the names back on these, but I just picked up some of these. A lot of these go straight up. They're from South America. I mentioned them earlier. And so there's actually now a whole bunch of South American plants in here, as well as Southeast Asian, and then the lilies are a lot of African stuff. But we'll see how this tank goes. I might kind of switch it back to a small Danio only tank, but now we do have all these guppies. I did not realize how many fry they had because they were hiding in the tangle of everything, which is probably why there are so many babies. But yeah, and the shrimp are right back up on top again, like they always knew they would be, moving on up. And maybe we'll get some more shrimp mating and stuff like that just with the change. They've still got their corners and their hiding spots. Found the Hypancistris. I've got my very, very orange Pandagara. The lone Pandagara in here. I think I'll probably take him downstairs to join his brethren, his 6 brothers and sisters downstairs. Just see if they mate or whatever at some point. Put them all together. He's probably lonely, even though he seems pretty happy and he cleans the tank for me pretty well. There's no autosynclus in here or anything right now. So him and the Hypancistris, which are leopard frog plecos, and the L33, which is the false zebra pleco. Here you can see some of those erythromicrons and the Phoenix Phoenix rasbora, very similar to Chili rasbora, as well as the Somfongzi rasbora, or the Trigonostigma brachiodanio, or the Somfongzi rasbora. So yeah, lots of progress made. Like I said, there's still some lanky stuff. What I tried to do is, in this tank, I've cut, it grows, I've cut, it grows. And so I cut the midpoint, and then I threw away the bottom, or the really long, like 3 feet of growth. And that will allow there to be, all these things I replanted have all these different split points, or nociceptor, or cells, undifferentiated cells that allow the plant to fork off. That's all that means, really. And so that will give me denser growth towards the top, just like a canopy when you're working with trees. And I'll clear out some of the center section, so these crypts and the Logonandrum eboldi silver and pink can be seen, and the Hygrophila polysperma can be seen. All of that should help and just kind of change the look of this. It's not going to be such a tall tank. And then I think I'm going to make some pathways. So maybe here, and then maybe loft this up a bit and maybe move the filter to the other side. And then what I'll do is I'd like to add some carpeting plants here. I do like the red root floaters. They do limit the algae. The algae really seems to stay in the red root floaters, and then the shrimp seem to eat it, live in it, and so do the baby fish. If I didn't have guppies in there, if I maybe did a species only like Danio, Celestial Pearl, Erythromicron, maybe I'd get somewhere on breeding those. Plus there are 100 shrimp in here plus that I need to also kind of start splitting out, getting to home, selling, you know, so on and so forth. And lots of mosses that are covering rocks, and more mosses in the other room that I can grab from other places. But so the real thing will be, you can see how much I cut down here, and then this is all replant, where the brighter top plants are planted. And with that jade, it's really a bright green color on some of the jade I collected here, even though that's not typical. We usually get a bluer jade. But maybe that's algae. So I don't know. But if you like seeing the process of how all this goes down, we've got buried female here and a buried female here, possible over here. If you like seeing how all this goes down, how I take care of these more elaborate or very diverse jungle tanks, it's not like you just plant it and let it be. You really do have to watch out for some of the crypts are all getting choked out. And so that was another reason why the cryptocorn, Hidori, and then the Nuri and Undulata, all those needed to be given the light of day. And now they'll probably grow like gangbusters. I'll add the soil in with a cup, probably a cup at a time, or a jar. You know, I'll pick some arbitrary size container, something like this maybe, and I'll put that into the tank each day, spread it around the top. That way we're not getting a crazy influx of any one, you know, of all the ammonia and nitrogen and all that kind of stuff, nitrates, nitrites, and hopefully the system can kind of just deal with that, and it'll all be good. So that's the plan. If you want to see me do more of this stuff, bigger, better, elaborate stuff, rarer plants, more scapes, switching things up more often, I gotta have the time to do it, and the resources. So Patreon, super chats, all that stuff is very nice and helpful. And if you want to support the channel that way, feel free. If not, if you're not in a place to do so, or, you know, I just haven't earned it yet, there's lots of other amazing creators you can support out there. Please like and subscribe. That's free. At least you can do that if you stuck around this long. Other than that, all I have to say is take care and have a wonderful day, evening, morning, afternoon, midnight hour, midnight snack. I will talk to you another time. Take care of yourselves, your critters, and I will be back shortly to finish this remodel. All right, guys. Talk to you later.